Hi there everybody, it's UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator Helzie here from slimandstylish.stampinup.net. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Before I start today's project, I am just going to explain to you that I'm at a tail end of a cold. So I've had a cold now for what feels like ever. One of those ones where you're full of cold and you feel exhausted all the time. I've got one of those and I'm at the tail end, so my throat is feeling really gruff. I'm not speaking properly, and I've got a big glass of squash just that side of the desk, which I might have to glug through the video. So if I start sounding a bit gruff and a bit hoarse, I really do apologise. That's just me at the moment, but I wanted to jump on and show you this card. So today's video is a slightly unusual one. I'm going to be showing you how to create this wreath style card, which I have fell in love with. I love it. Isn't it gorgeous? And what I'm going to be showing you today is my process for bulk stamping and bulk making. So I'm going to be making in excess of 20 of these cards for a craft retreat at the weekend. And I'm really hoping my throat's going to be better by then, let me tell you. I've really been looking forward to the retreat, and I'm making these as my swap cards. So I thought it'd be really handy to show you how my mind works when it comes to bulk creating cards and everything else. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how I actually got the basis for my wreath. And this might be a bit of an unusual start point, but I'll explain to you why I'm starting here. So I had a whole load of basic white cardstock, which I cut for the back of my cards, but also they're the perfect size for fitting through my die cut machine. So what I did is I grabbed a sheet of these, and then I grabbed my 2 circles. So this is the largest of the layering circles in this layering circle die. And this one here is the 3rd from largest. So you'll see there's one that goes in the middle. But I ran them through my die cut machine like that, so that it created me a gorgeous frame. And it also gave me the circle for in the middle. Now I don't need the circle for in the middle for this project at all, but don't throw them away. You can always use them for sentiment pieces or for other projects. There's bound to be something you need those for. They're really handy. But it gave me this lovely circle, which is how I created my wreath. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to present time. I've already cut these out, but I don't need them for a bit. So I'm just going to pop these on the side of my desk, and I've got a whole load of them here. Okay, but what I do have now is I have a whole lot of paper that have got these gorgeous holes in. So this is where I'm going to be doing all of my stamping, so that I'm not wasting cardstock. It's very easy to start a new sheet when you do your stamping out, but I have just got all of these pieces with this basic white side. So I'm going to be using this for my stamping. Okay, and that's why I explained to you the circles first, because it then explains why I'm missing a massive hole in my paper. So then what I do is I grab my stamps. So I'm going to start out with these little leaves here. And what I do is, now I've made the one card, I've worked out how many leaves I want per card. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Work out how many cards you want to do in total. So I know I want to do 20. So to me, that means I'm going to need 100 of these individual leaves. So I'm going to need to stamp it 50 times. So you can just keep working along your cardstock until you have this 50 times. And I would just do that all in one go. Bring in the colours to colour it in. So I'm colouring it in using soft succulent, dark and light. Now what I'll show you, and you've probably picked it up because you're eagle-eyed, is I have not made a very good job of colouring this card. And the reason why is it takes a long time. You might think, oh, it's just a little leaf, you can colour it properly. But when you're trying to do 100 of these little leaves, it takes a long time to get them all perfect. So what I did is just put the dark at the middle, and then I put the light over the top of it. And I have left this gorgeous sort of skunk-like side where I've got some white on it, so it looks like a messy watercolour. And I'm going to do that with all the pieces that go on here, so it doesn't look like a mistake. It looks like it should be. Once you've done that, you want to die cut them all out. So I make a whole batch of these, die cut them all out, and just pop them in a little dish. So I've got a whole host of them to get decorating with later. And that's the leaves put to the side. Next up, I've got the big leaf from this set as well. So I've done the little ones, I've got the big one. So what I'm going to do with that is I've got 2 per card. I'm making 20 cards, so I want 40 of these. Okay, so I am going to stamp out 40 of the big leaves. Again, I have not been neat and tidy because I haven't got time to. I'm making 20 cards. So what I've done is I've grabbed my dark granny apple green and my light granny apple green. And I have grabbed the dark and I've literally just put it up one side like that. No rhyme or reason. You can do all of the darks in one go. So if you've got all of your 40 leaves, go down, do all the darks, then pick up the light, and the light I've just gone over the other side with, and sort of just giving this sort of scribble effect on it, sort of thing, like that. And there are those leaves. Again, they might look messy, but it took me seconds to do, and I'm going to want to have 40 odd of those. So I have got those on a pot to the side of me here, ready to go. Okay. Next up is the Flowers and Friendship stamp set. So I'm using both of these flowers here. Again, I have used 4 of these ones on my card. So I need 100 of these. And I have used 2 of these. So I am going, oh no, bad maths. 4 of these, so I'm going to need 80 of them on my 20 cards. 2 of these, so I'm going to need 40 of them on my cards. So then I'm going to go through all of my basic white. Eventually, you will run out of these strips because you're doing so many. Then you can just go on to a sheet of A5. Well, for these ones, you can go onto a sheet of A4 and stamp them because you're just going to punch these out. But if you're die cutting, do it on A5 because that's what fits into the big shot. Okay, so you want to stamp a whole host of those, and you also want to stamp a whole host of these ones here. And again, I colour them in stages. So I've used So Saffron for the dots or the centre of the cards. So I will use So Saffron and just do all of them in one go. So I'm not having to take the lid off, put the lid back on. I will do all 80 of these and all 40 of these in one go. So 120 little dots, I'll do all of those. And then the next up, I'm using light Highland Heather and dark Fresh Freesia. And all I'm doing is a strip on each one. So this is like, takes seconds, just round these like that. Okay. And then I'm grabbing the dark Fresh Freesia and I am just putting a little bit of colour to the side of the Highland Heather that I put on there. And you'll see that does not look neat, but it's going to be the same as everything else that goes on the card. So it will look correct when you assemble it all together. Okay, which is how it looks when it gets put on the card. It has this sort of watercolour effect, which I love and I think is really cool. Next up, Pool Party, dark and light. And what I've done here is I've stayed over one side, put a bit of colour with the dark, and then light. And because I'm only going quick and I'm not going near the edges, I can use the brushes. So I just get the colour onto the card really, really quick. And those are those. What we have with these is we have the punch set. So I can go on there and I can punch these out quite quickly. And what's lovely with these is if I save these till the end of the day, I can actually sit and I punch all these out on my sofa like that, punch out the purple ones, and then I'm going to add them into my little pot. So I've got a pot of the pool party ones here, and I've got a little pot of the purple ones just here. So everything's on the side of my desk and it's getting built up, ready to go. Okay. Finally, I have the Shaded Summer cling stamp set. And for this, I'm using Evening Evergreen. So I'm going to be using this sprig here. Again, I'm going to grab some scrap basic white. And I'm going to get stamping with this. Now, it's quite easy for me to keep stamping around the edge of the circle, because then I can put my big flowers on this side. Let me show you what I mean. Here, I've got these, and I've got all of this here that's a waste because the flowers didn't fit there. So I can put my sprigs there, die cut a whole heap of those out, and I have them on my little tray here ready to go. I used 2 sprigs on this wreath. One's here and one's here. So by that I need 40 of them, but they are really good for filling the space. So just do as many as possible and you can work your way through them. Okay, so I have all of those ready. So now I have all of my leaves, all of my flowers, my sprigs and my big leaf, my pretty purple flowers, and then I have just here a whole load of little vellum flowers. So what I actually did here, just to bring in another set for fun, is I used this gorgeous runner stamp, which is from the Hydrangea set, Hydrangea Haven dies, and I die cut those in vellum. There are 9 on here and I've put 3 on a card. So I have ran that through quite a few times, got a whole host of vellum flowers there. Okay, so they're all ready to go. So what I'm going to do is assemble my wreath. Now, the reason why I'm doing this before mass cutting everything else is because you're going to want to give these times to dry, because you want these flowers to dry very nicely on there. So I'm just going to grab some Tombow, and what I did is I popped the Tombow all the way around the side of my frame. Okay, so there was glue all the way around. No one's going to see the frame, so it doesn't make any difference. You want glue all the way around. If you're unsure about this, you can put your glue mat underneath so you're protecting your table or whatever you're using. Now, I started off with a couple of the big pieces. So I started off with one of the big flowers because it used up quite a bit of my wreath and I could get started quite nicely. And you want to just keep going, layering up. You don't have to use the same amount of things that you used on the first one if you don't want to. It's really up to you. But the whole point is that you're just getting a section on the wreath. When I come to the flowers, I just popped them up slightly like that, so they looked a bit more 3D when they went on the card. And you'll see that I'm making sure that none of that wreath is visible by popping the little leaves or the little sprigs underneath. Okay, keep going round. They don't all have to be identical, because it would take extra time if I had to sit here and make them all identical. I'm just building this up as I want. And I'm going to go quite quick because I don't want the glue to dry. Otherwise I'm going to be then re-gluing and you're going to have a bit of a edge on it. So I've already made this different because I've put 3 sprigs on here and I'd only put 2 on this one. But somewhere along the line I'm going to be putting something less because there's not going to be room for it. And you can just make these as you want. And as you get to the end of here, you're going to have some left that you've got more of or less of. And don't forget, you don't have to have them all pointing outwards. You can have them pointing inwards as well. That works. And another big leaf. Let's just grab one of those. Pop that underneath there, like that. Purple flower. I'm going to pop another purple flower over there. The bigger they are, the more it's going to quickly fill the wreath. So that's always a positive. And you can go there. You can go there, like that. Okay, and you've created your first wreath. What you want to do now is create all 20 of your wreaths and let them dry. Okay, so just pile them up on the side, leave them to dry. Okay, you'll notice I didn't use any of the vellum flowers, and the reason I didn't use any of the vellum flowers is because I've attached them on top of the wreath, okay, towards the end. So I want this to be dry before I put those on, so I am just going to pop that to the side. What I then did was I grabbed the oh, I can't remember the name of it. Let me grab the name off the back of the pack. The Heart and Home Designer Series paper, which has got all this gorgeous wood effect. And I have chopped this down, so it's 10 centimeters by 14.3, and I have done 20 of these already. I have got some black cardstock that I've cut down. This is 10.5 by 14.8, so it is the same size as the base of my cardstock. So then what I just do is grab my glue and adhere this to all the black frames. So while you're waiting for your wreaths to dry, you can get on with doing the bases. There shouldn't be any sort of stoppage time, because while things are drying, there's always plenty of other things to do, and work your way through. Okay, so adhere those, and eventually you'll then have 20 of them already done and adhered. And what you can also do is you can adhere these to your card bases. So I have a whole heap of card bases that have already been cut, and they've already been scored, and they're all ready to go. So you can just fold them, varnish them, use your glue to adhere the front onto the back, and then while your wreaths are drying, you will end up with 20 card bases all ready to go. Okay, so once you've got all of those, you can then bring your wreath back in, and this will then sit on the front of your card. So what I did here was I grabbed our mini dimensionals. So we have two different sizes of dimensionals. Okay, we have this size here, which is the bigger size, and we have this size here, which is the smaller size. And I'm just going to pause you for 2 seconds while I run to blow my nose, and I will be back. Right then, I'm back, and I know what you're thinking. That wreath looks a little bit different to the wreath that she left us with. And it does, because I came back and I finished the card and then realised I hadn't put back on record. So I've just been talking to myself. So I've got myself back to the station of where I was previously. So now what I'm going to do with my two sets of dimensionals is I'm going to use the mini dimensionals on the wreath. So I'm just going to pop 1, 2 and 3 onto the wreath and adhere this onto the card. Okay, any which way that you like. Just make sure none of it's hanging off the side. So if you've got a bit that's longer, make sure that's on the portrait part rather than that bit, otherwise it's going to hang over the edge. Then what you want with your basic white cardstock is you want to come in with your memento again and the Hello You sentiment. So this is actually from the Shaded Summer stamp set just here. So you're just going to want to grab that and stamp it down, and then you want to cut it out to make a flag. So you get these sort of shapes. Okay, the way you do that is you just cut straight across, okay, like that, and then leave yourself about a centimetre gap and pop yourself a flag in. Cut straight up the middle and create one triangle, and then create another triangle, and there's your flag for your Hello You. Okay, use your slightly bigger dimensional to pop this on because this is a bit of a fatter strip. All right, and then you just pop that underneath wherever it's going to look best coming out from your wreath. So I quite like mine there. The vellum bits we haven't used yet, so let me just grab my glue. And then what you're going to want to do is you want to pop 3 little dots on here at any specific place. 1, 2, 3. And this is the cardinal sin of vellum. You shouldn't really use your Tombow glue underneath your vellum because it's going to give you a great big white splodge underneath, and it's going to be really obvious and everyone's going to see because the vellum is see-through. So what we're going to do is I'll show you. Pop your flowers on, and hopefully if I bring this up you can see what I mean by this splodge that's going to come under the glue. Okay, so make sure it's stuck down in each place. You can see it looks quite messy. That's okay. We're going to pull in the rhinestones. So I'm going to use 3 of the smaller size rhinestones. I've only got 1 left on this sheet, so I'm going to be opening a new pack. Before you start doing this, make sure you have enough rhinestones for your project. If you're making loads, make sure you've got an extra sheet of them so that as you go through, you can top them back up. So you want to stick the little rhinestones on top of the vellum flower in the middle so that you can't see the glue, but it just gives that element of a bling to the card. And then to finish it up, you want to add some little ribbons. So I've got a load of those made and ready as well. So what you want to do with that is, this is the gingham style ribbon. You want to create a teeny tiny little bow. So if you make the bow slightly bigger to start off with, because that's how my fingers work, and then what you want to do is you just want to keep pulling it so it goes teeny, teeny and tiny. Okay, and then chop the tail off, tidy the tail up this side, and you've got a teeny tiny little bow. And we're just going to adhere that with a glue dot onto the card like that. And that is your wreath made. So I now have 3 and have another 17 to go. But that's how I generally do my mass card making, is I make all the elements and then all I have to do is just an assembly line and make the rest of it. And that's why you've got die cut bits and coloured in bits. It's a lot easier than when you actually come to the assembly because you've got all your different pots. You're not having to do them all straight on the card in one go. Hopefully that's helped. Everything I've used today is available from my store, slimandstylish.stampinup.net. If you do want to come to craft retreats with me, join my team. It is great fun. I love crafty retreats. They are hilarious. And you know, they're just a whole day or whole 2 days of crafting. We're going to a spa hotel this time, so by this time tomorrow I'm going to be in the pool, you know, providing this stupid cold has gone. But yeah, ask me about joining my team of Stampin' Bells. Would love to have you, and you can come to the next retreat. Thanks everybody. I will see you all again soon. Bye. I hope you've enjoyed today's project. All items that I have used on this video are available to purchase from my store, www.slimandstylish.stampinup.net. Alternatively, if you would like a copy of our catalogues, please send me an email to slimandstylish@live.co.uk or leave me a comment below and I'll get in touch with you. I upload regular content to this channel, so if you do enjoy watching my tutorials, please make sure that you have subscribed and rang the bell to get notifications when new videos go live. Thank you for joining me and have a lovely day.